we have some recent news that we want to jump into that really matters. So for one, XDC is really going to take the cake on this, but you're going to see some connectors in regard to XRP and especially QNT. So without further ado, consider smashing that like if you haven't done so already. It definitely helps benefit both channels. And let's just get right into the material. If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure. Organizer has this. He states, seems we may have another government level collab on XDC real soon. Awesome. He says, recently we saw XDC's head of Enterprise Alliance and Ventures join a panel held by Qatar Financial Center on the utility of RWA tokenization. Now here in a little bit, we'll get more into why that's significant, and more importantly, with Qatar. Just last year, Qatar's government had officially begun adopting digital assets and, of course, DLT. This was initially formed as the Qatar Digital Asset Labs. In there, we saw both HBAR and R3 Corda involved as the only DLT platforms. I'll say it again, the only DLT platforms. That is something else. They clearly see the side of enterprise DLT that's bringing real utility. And as we know, or if you're new, you might not know, XDC has their own respective ties to both Hedera and, of course, R3's Corda. And more importantly, fit that same exact category of enterprise DLT perfectly. A little bit more about this. As we go into the visual, here's why we point out some of these key things. Let's pull up on the other screen, and it's what you see here. And in the posting, like it says, straight from QFC, Policy Roundtable, well, from regulation to realization, shaping the future of digital assets. And of course, that happened on May 22nd. But again, head of Enterprise Alliance and Ventures is Saloy bin Baha. And bring it over here, it's the highlight that mentions we are proud as an XDC that Saloy bin Baha, head of XDC Network, Enterprise Alliance and Ventures, well, will be the featured speaker, at least at that time at that roundtable. And again, held alongside Qatar Economic Forum, all right, hosted by Qatar Financial Center, QFC, authority in collaboration with the Global Blockchain Business Council. All right, that's a big deal. All right, let's take you over to this other key thing, because some of you guys are still doubting that XDC and that QNT don't have nothing going on. That's simply not true. Listen to this from one of the head honchos himself, the one and only André Casterman. I've gone ahead and fast forward to this key area of why it matters moving forward. And notice some of the key participants: HSBC, Deutsche Bank, ING. You kind of get the gist. I'm going to play this only for a brief moment. I'm going to come right back, and then shortly after, get Jesse's take on some of the key findings. Here we go.
Bringing liquidity into a particular asset class, which is traded here. But on both sides, actually, the next step is to use the same blockchain. On TFD initiative is, let's say over time, yes, we use XDC network for TFD initiative and XDC network for DNI initiative. We could add the payment process, ISO 22 payment, as enabled by Impel, for instance, as an extension of the tracking process on the DNI initiative, and as an extension of the liquidity process on the TFD initiative. So executing a payment, shortening the wire payments, going through correspondent banking, taking days and getting lost in many cases through correspondent bank, Swift messaging, and so on. Swift messaging is not an issue, but it's the whole end step-by-step process of correspondent banks that is an issue. We could move that as a payment flow.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
On the blockchain as well, and XDC network is positioned through Impel with ISO 20022, a layer 2, focusing on the whole payment proposition. So that's definitely for Shobi's answer. With Arun's question on which evolving regulatory requirements for different jurisdictions, how trade finance distribution can be standardized to meet guidelines. Yes, on the trade finance distribution side, we haven't, there are still a few regulatory issues, such as the transfer of receivables across jurisdictions that can be an obstacle. But usually at this stage is mainly the token, the acceptance of handling liquidity via tokens. That is something that more regulators need to open up to. We have worked with European regulators. I see UK regulators very progressive. I see Abu Dhabi also very progressive. But in many countries, the tokens, either they don't know what it means, or they're trying to resist it, or they haven't started working on it. So we have to work more with regulators to accept token issuance next to notes issuance. So the next question from Clayton is for multinational enterprise clients, does XDC and TradeTech have its own operating system application for clients to access service offered by the ecosystem? Basically, no. The TradeTech proposition is definitely towards originators. So you need a servicer of the asset. It could be a platform, a supply chain finance platform, like accelerated payments that you see on the slide here, or it could be another platform like Supplier Plus or IncomeLand. They are all servicers of assets, even if sometimes they don't run their own balance sheet. So we don't go directly to the corporates here. But let's see what the options could be in the future to bring more liquidity to the corporates via different ways. Could be factoring companies in addition to the large banks and the local banks, of course. Definitely Quant Network over ledger is relevant, as XDC Network is already working with Quant.
So here's the way I look at it, Jesse. So for one, he mentions payment flows. We know that with Quant's overledger, well, outside the overledger is Quant Flow. He literally says, by name, we're working with Quant. So before we get more into the whole thing of Qatar and the Ripple XRP connection, I got to get some of your key takeaway from the findings, tokenizer, and obviously the announcement from André Casterman in that video from a while back.
Yeah, so I mean, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, okay? Don't buy anything, sell anything because of anything I said. But XDC is massive. I mean, XDC is the infrastructure layer for global trade. So they're tokenizing every document and instrument that is involved with global trade. So when there's a big cargo boat, huge boat, shipping about to leave the port, right? That boat there's so much documents involved, and it takes a lot of time to process. So that's why they're digitizing everything on the XDC network. So the letters of credit, the insurance for the boat, the financing, the trade documents, the purchase orders, everything that's involved. And there's many other documents involved here. I'm not an expert in global trade, so I can tell you every document's involved right off the top of my head. But literally every document is being tokenized and put on the XDC network. So this way, documents can be literally instantly verified, settled, traded, moved, verified by the blockchain. Like, it just speeds up the process, because right now the boats are literally parked in, sometimes they're parked at the port waiting like 20 to 30 days before it can leave, just because the documentation hasn't been processed. So with the blockchain, you're removing all of that delay, because the blockchain verifies, instantly confirms, boom, 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 right? So that's why XDC network is so massive. And then XDC might be being used for some settlement and stuff like that too. I do still personally believe XRP is the main token for liquidity in general. But and then now you see Quant. He says we're working with Quant. Well, of course, because Quant's the only solution that allows you to build multi-chain application. So without Quant, and I know I'm probably sound like a broken record here because I explain that all the time, but without Quant, like you're stuck to one blockchain. So let's say you do something on XDC here. Without Quant, you can't move on to the next step. So let's say you tokenize documents. Okay, you settle a few documents. They move around a bit, boom, boom, boom. Then the next step, you can't do it. You're in silo. And if you try to do a cross chain to go on to the next step, like you can get hacked and all these stuff because the hacks are coming from cross chains, right? It doesn't work. You need to build a multi-chain application, which is you're picking the best features of each blockchain and you're building what's called a named app. And so this way, that's only Quant permits that. So Quant is the true solution for blockchain to flourish. So like I've given some other examples, is trying to use blockchain without using Quant is almost like having the internet, but only having access to one website. Who wants that? It doesn't work. Like you're not going to get that adoption. If I buy an internet package and my provider says, okay, well, which internet website, like which website do you want? Because you have to choose one, and we're going to give you that website for 3 or 4 years. And then, after 3 or 4 years, if you want to switch website, we'll try to disconnect you and move you to another website. So which website do you want to use for the next 3 years? Like that's not the internet. That's useless, right? So it's not the perfect analogy, but it gives you an idea. Like without Quant, like every main chain has to be on Quant. It has to be connected to Quant because those multi-chain applications are crucial for the adoption of blockchain. There is no other way. So I don't know how many blockchains are connected to Quant right now. There might be 30, might be 50, might be 100. We don't know. But from my understanding, what's coming soon, like there's gonna be a lot of blockchains connected to it, man. I'm talking like Avalanche, Ocean Protocol, Energy Web Token, XDC, you name them. Like Gilbert Verdian never never implied that they were going to limit or try to limit how many blockchains can be connected. And from my understanding, anybody can connect to Quant. Anybody can connect a blockchain to Quant as long as they follow the specification. So the specifications that Quant laid out. So yeah, but all in all, I mean, XDC is that main network for global trade. I don't think there's any, it's the infrastructure. And then you see all the different apps and everything, these different things being built on top of XDC for global trade. It's huge. XDC is a very big deal. Very big deal. Yeah.
I do agree it's a very big deal. And something that Jesse brought up earlier was the whole thing of, obviously, Ripple. Let's get into this Ripple segment and why it matters to you. As we pull up more info on your screen, let's go ahead and get into this announcement that came from, believe it or not, the White House. And as we pull it up, well, this wasn't mentioned all that long ago. In fact, it was mentioned specifically on this key date, May 14th. And like it says, the White House, fact sheets. Fact sheet, President Trump secures historic $1.2 trillion economic commitment in, of course, Qatar. Well, say what you want, that commitment is a big deal moving forward. President Trump also announced economic deals totaling more than $253.5 billion between the United States and Qatar, including the historic sale of Boeing aircraft and GE Aerospace engines to Qatar Airways. Landmark deal, yada yada. But again, Qatar, as we get more into this and why it matters to you, remember how we mentioned Ripple? Well, Qatar, the handshake with Ripple. Shout out to our brother in space, once again, Smoke. Can be followed at SMQKEDQG. He says in his findings this, and it's what's mentioned from specifically this citation. In the citation, you see it comes from QNB, FINANS Like it mentions, there is no daily transaction limit for outgoing Ripple transfer transactions, and the instant transaction limit amount is QAR, US dollar, the euro, Great Britain pounds, equivalent to 1 million. TL, money transfers incoming and outgoing made via Ripple infrastructure are subject to all operational and legal compliance. Again, yada yada. But what are the benefits? Well, it says the transfer on RippleNet is completed in 1 to 3 minutes on average. And of course, like it says here, transfers from QNB Qatar are credited to the customer account 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How about this other highlight? There is no correspondent bank commission. I'll state it again. There is no correspondent bank commission. And last but not least, like it says, Please contact our branches to get more information and benefit from our newest and most advantageous service that offers great convenience for your money transferred between Qatar and, of course, Turkey. Say what you want, all these key connections, whether it's Trump visiting Qatar or some of the things that we cited earlier about XDC, XRP, QNT, another government level collab. Well, that's why we do these outlines, ladies and gentlemen. We do them because we want you guys to understand there's definitely a collab. It's the bigger picture, the things that are happening behind the scenes. Your closing comments, Jesse.
Yeah, well, of course they're using Ripple. It's the unified ledger, like I've been preaching. It's the unified ledger, it's the shared ledger, it's the regulated liability network, it's the regulated settlement network, which was originally called the regulated Internet of Value. Isn't that interesting? The regulated liability network, the RLN, was originally called the regulated Internet of Value, but they changed the name because they didn't want people to realize what that meant. They didn't want people to realize this is Ripple, right? The regulated liability network. And I just did a video on that. I'm launching it tomorrow. I did a video part 2, but now I'm doing part 3. That's probably the most serious, probably the best video I ever did. It's you're seeing the interledger protocol connecting the unified ledger, right? And Ripple built the interledger protocol. So why is it saying here in the documents calling Ripple infrastructure? Because it's referring to the same other document we looked at the other day. We were talking about the Faster Payment Task Force. I think we were talking about Federal Reserve document. It was showing NACHA, ACH, all of these major payment systems in the US, all built on the Ripple infrastructure. Now, this document, again, talks about the Ripple infrastructure, referring to another country. It's the Ripple infrastructure because the XRP ledger, which is the shared ledger, which is the unified ledger, okay, is built on the interledger protocol. So when they say Ripple infrastructure, they're referring to the interledger protocol and Ripple, the XRP ledger that's built on it. And it has numerous CBDC private ledgers on the side, and it's the Internet of Value. That's why they're going to slip, even though they try to hide it from us as much as they can. Those documents keep popping up because it is the Internet of Value. Ripple is the Internet of Value. Quant's the Internet of Trust. Okay, Quant's the Internet of Trust. So that's why you're seeing Ripple. That's why you're seeing Ripple.
I guess enough said. And obviously we're seeing XDC. So we're glad to bring you guys all of this. And if anything, be out on the lookout for more coverage between Jesse and I. We're going to put out a lot of material. You're going to see on a consistent basis about a lot of key things in regard to research and why it matters to you. Simply do us a solid if you listen to this entire outline and type in this key phrase into the comments, and that is government collab, and we'll know that you listen to the entire outline. On behalf of myself and Jesse of Apex Crypto Consulting NFA, know why you hold the research. Yes, the research trumps FUD 110%. We'll see you on the next one.
Hey guys.